And so now we're all plugged in, right? This thing is a vacuum pump. Inexpensive, but like I say, auto parts store, Harbor Freight, you can get these things 50, 75 bucks, right? The jar probably costs more than that, right? And so what's gonna happen here when I run the pump and the jar is over it, if I get a good enough seal, and this is sometimes a problem, right? Sometimes I need to get a better seal. So I can actually do a little something to help with that, because it is sometimes a problem. If we start out with just a little bit of Vaseline or anything on there, and I think I've got a little, yeah, here we go. Got a little bit right here. And so all I'm gonna do here is just give this the ability to make a seal a little more quickly so we don't have to wait for it by just smearing some of this on here. There we go. Somebody give me a soundtrack. Da, 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 da.
Killing me, Smalls.
Da, 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 da. What did I do with my beaker full of liquid? Oh, I passed it
You
around.
handed it to
Yeah.
everybody.
Is it still going around? No, that's all right. Still going around? That's good. Right there. All right, so any flim-flammery here? Is this in fact just a beaker of nasty tap water? That's all it is. It's a dirty beaker full of dirty tap water, right? Why isn't it boiling?
Because it's room temperature.
At 1 atmosphere.
So I hear that. So I hear, and I want to know if you guys agree with Annie. And I'm going to paraphrase you. I'm going to say it slightly differently. What she said was because it's at room temperature. And I'm going to change that slightly and see if you still agree with me. I'm going to say because it's not hot enough. Are we saying basically the same thing? So your entire life, if you wanted to boil that water, we want to make some mac and cheese, what would you do? Make it hotter. Yeah, I'm going to add heat energy. I'm either going to put it in a pan on the stove. This thing I might be able to pop in the microwave, right? Although if you've ever tried to heat that much water in the microwave, you know it takes just about as much time to heat the microwave as it does on the stove. Anybody ever do this?
Mm-hmm.
The microwave is really good at small stuff, but it doesn't do like a big bulk thing. You're probably better off putting it on the stove. But either way, this would be our normal code of conduct here, our normal behavior. I've got water. I want it to be hot enough to boil eggs in or make mac and cheese with. I'm going to add heat. Well, that is absolutely the correct thing to do if you want to make mac and cheese or if you want to boil eggs. But if all I really want to do is turn that water into a gas, is there a way to boil it without adding all that heat energy?
Mm-hmm.
So I get back to my original question. Why isn't it boiling?
Because it's equilibrium of the air pressure.
Yeah, beautiful. We live in a state of equilibrium with our surroundings. And here's where it gets real weird. This won't be the most bizarre thing I've said today. I forget what the earlier one was, but I think it wins. Oh, the smoke alarms, yeah. But this is still going to be, for anybody who thinks about this is a weird thing. We live not in an ocean of air, but at the bottom of an ocean of air. And that ocean of air extends over our heads about 50 miles. That's a lot of air. What holds it in place?
Gravity.
Gravity. Yeah, gravity. Well, if gravity's holding the air in place, doesn't it mean it has weight?
Yeah.
Doesn't this air have weight? Well, if it has weight, couldn't we measure it? And we have and we do. The air that we live in is exerting a force of about 15 pounds per square inch. Now, we typically think of a force like my fist on the table, right, is very one directional. But the air, like water, is a fluid. And so that 15 pounds per square inch is up, down, and sideways. It's in my lungs, it's in my ears, it's in my sinuses. It's literally holding my juices inside me. I know, weird way to think about it, right? Without 15 pounds per square inch in every direction all the time, we would start to leak. And it would not end badly. We leak inside and we leak outside. Blood and lymph fluid coming out of your eyes, mouth, nose. More importantly, what's happening in your skull and in your lungs, right? All of that frothy, pink, sort of mucousy blood fluid filling up your lungs. Pretty soon you're spewing pink foam out of your mouth. At this point, you may not care anymore because the pressure in your brain, as all that cerebrospinal fluid starts to boil inside your skull, has reached a point where you're probably not feeling the excruciating pain of breathing pink froth. And then you die.
But first, you have to go through all of
Good
that.
times.
Yeah, good times, good times. So we live at the bottom of an ocean of air, and we are biologically adapted to that 15 pounds per square inch to the extent that if we vary it much at all, we complain like crazy. Anybody ever drive up on the mountain and have a terrible day because of headaches and earaches and yeah, there are some people who just can't stand to be at that decreased pressure. And it's not a big difference. It's enough of a difference, though, that it really rattles us. Our ears pop, we get headaches, some people don't sleep well. Some people actually need to be medically brought back down because they'll get a condition called pulmonary edema, where their lungs are literally filling with fluid. Right? This is bad. And the minor change in that pressure, you go from the 15 pounds that we're experiencing in this room right now down to just 11 or 12 pounds, and you're gonna feel that, right? Get much less than that, and your life will be measured in minutes rather than hours.
Is it 15 pounds at sea level?
Yeah. So it's actually what 14.7, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where we're about 3,000 feet above sea level, so we might be at something like 14.3. If you've ever baked cakes, this is why a cake box has a recipe for normal people and then a recipe for people that live at high elevation. If you live at high elevation, you follow the regular recipe, your cake just does this, right? Turns into a big mess in the oven, right? It rises too much. And so you have to have different recipes for different things. This is also why, I've experienced this a lot of times myself, getting at around 14,000 feet, it's really hard to make a hot dinner, right? Even if it's not all that cold outside, water's boiling at like 175 degrees, so you can barely cook, right? You can just barely cook. You're better off barbecuing at high altitude than you are trying to cook things that require boiling water because you physically can't get the water that hot. So what happens to the water? Well, right here in this room at around 210, we say the boiling point is 212, right? You guys familiar with that number? We say water on Earth boils at 212. Well, that's at sea level. We're about 3,000 feet above sea level, so our water boils at 210. Well, what that actually means is you can't get water hotter than 210. Once it reaches 210, it's achieved enough thermal energy, enough kinetic energy to spring into a gas form. It leaves the liquid and becomes same molecules, but now they're a gas instead of a liquid, right? It's gonna make a great YouTube video.
I know it, right?
I'm so tired. I'm my best sometimes when I'm tired. You point a camera at me.
Just don't even think about it.
So let's back up. Third time, and we haven't had any wrong answers. There's lots of answers to this question. Why isn't that water boiling?
There's too much pressure.
15 pounds per square inch, right? You can picture this as a square inch of air extending up into space. If we could put a scale under that air, it would weigh 15 pounds, a 1-inch column of air. And so however many square inches that is, I don't know,
Or
pi r squared. Every pi I've ever had was round, so I don't know.
Pi r round.
Yeah, pi r
pi r
round.
squared.
Yeah. So that's got enough pressure there to keep it from spontaneously becoming a gas. And under these conditions, to make it a gas, we can either add heat energy or,
Decreased pressure.
let's remove some of that 15 pounds per square inch. Let's remove about 99.4% of that 15 pounds per square inch. So we're going to take this way down to almost exactly the surface air pressure on Mars. It's just a nice coincidence when on Earth you build a $70 vacuum pump. That vacuum pump is just about good enough to recreate the atmospheric conditions on Mars. So for my world, that's a really nice coincidence, right? So it's a wonderful, I don't have to buy anything special. I can recreate Mars. So we're about to answer a couple of questions. One, how do you boil this water without adding any heat energy to it? And then two, what would this water do if we could carry it to the surface of Mars and just set it on the surface of Mars? What would happen to this water? Are we ready? What are our predictions?
It's gonna boil.
We think it's going to boil? Many of you touched it. Once it boils, would you be willing to just stick your hand in it?
Can I?
It
I was
should
actually
actually,
gonna ask if you have a mercury thermometer we can put in there.
No, because mercury thermometers are forbidden on this campus now.
Oh.
Welcome to the new world. I could have grabbed an alcohol thermometer, but I didn't think of it. I apologize. I used to have one in my box and it got broken years ago.
Sad.
But nonetheless, we all came with a built-in thermometer,
Yeah.
got one.
right? Do you have your thermometer with you?
I got
10
10 of
and
them.
and you actually have a choice, right? Barring any, vulgar expressions here. I've always thought that it was funny that you can actually make a vulgar expression just with your hand.
One hand.
Ain't that bizarre, right?
That's
I
cool.
mean, humans are funny. I find that very funny, and certain noises, of
They'll
course.
blur it out if you
You
try
make
and
the
put it on
wrong
video.
noise in the wrong circumstance, it's like, oh my gosh, It's like, and I'm talking mouth noises, right? Like, words. Some words are more powerful than others, I guess. So we're predicting that it will boil. I heard that loud and clear. Raise your hand if you think the temperature is going to go up. Raise your hand if you think the temperature is going to go down. Ooh. Raise your hand if you think the temperature is going to stay the same.
So the amount that I think that it's gonna go down is very small.
Very small, but I'm in your camp. I'm in your camp. Let's run this experiment, and then I'll explain why I think we're actually reducing the temperature of this beaker of water. Because I think that's what we're actually doing, and it would take a pretty decent thermometer to figure that out. But I think I should probably put that on my to-buy list. A thermometer that could live inside the bell jar and show us this. But here we go. And I'll turn this around so you can see. It won't be until we're pretty close to zero on that dial that we'll start to see activity here. You may want to come quite close to it because the activity that you'll see will be very similar to what you get when you're impatiently waiting for that water to boil to make mac and cheese,
Watch
right?
the pot.
You're in the kitchen, you're staring at it. Don't we start to see tiny little bubbles stick to the side of the pan and the bottom of the pan first? So that's what we're going to look for here. Little teeny tiny bubbles, right, sticking to the beaker itself, and then we'll start to see little bubbles, and then with a little luck, we'll actually get to see this thing boil. Now that's a good sign. I can hear that my needle is dropping. Is my needle dropping? Now for me to see this, come on over, guys. Hey, basketball team. This is fucking cool. Get over here.
There goes my G rating.
Sorry. I'm just astonished that you would be sitting there with your backs to me. Really? Xavier. What the hell? Get over here, man. I'm boiling water in the classroom without adding any heat. You're probably never gonna see this again. I'm sorry for cussing you guys, but that was
You're all
genuinely-
right.
That was just from the heart. I mean, really, what the hell? It's like, be excited about life. There's nothing shameful about being interested in stuff. Nothing shameful at all, right? What you will discover as you get older, the people that are interested in stuff, they're the most productive, happiest, most interesting people to be around. The people who spend all their high school years pretending like they don't give a crap about anything, those turn out to be the real dullards, right? You don't want to hang out with those people in your 30s. They're dull. They've trained themselves not to be interested in anything. So sorry for cussing, but really, it's like, be interested. This is freaking interesting. Anybody with me on this?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, I think this is pretty darn interesting. All right, I'll continue here. I don't know where we are on my dial. Oh, we're close. We're close. Are you seeing it?
Yeah.
We are close. I'm seeing crud fall off the side. You see that? It's a dirty beaker. Here we go.
It's like a
It's
microwave.
boiling. I wouldn't add the noodles yet. Don't add the noodles yet.
So you know you can't.
All right, now you can add the noodles.
You know you can't cook chili or beans or anything when you're on the mountain unless you have a pressure cooker.
Yeah, pressure cooker. is
It
kind of
will
what you
not
need.
get hot, no.
Yeah. All right. So has it boiled sufficiently? Are we ready? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to close my valve. Now there are a couple of problems here. One is, how do I get this thing off of here?
It's sealed down.
Let's think about what's happening. So I've drawn a not great vacuum, but still a vacuum in here.
So you have to open your valve. Like,
Aha. Yeah. In order for me to get this thing off,
Or
what's happening? 15 pounds per square inch? If there's 15 pounds per square inch pressing on this thing, am I going to be able to pull it off with the strength of my arms?
I've got another idea.
Yeah, no way. It's like
Let's-
1,200
Let's
pounds.
decrease the air pressure in this room. And then we can take that off.
That would work. You follow that? If we
Let's
could
do
pump the
that.
air out of this room, it would pop right off. Especially since the water is still boiling. Is it actually filling up with water vapor?
It is.
It is, yeah. So I'll do that. So the air's rushing back in, no longer boiling. I can probably pop this off. Maybe I can get this off, but I discovered the hard way, a lot of beakers actually have a slightly convex bottom. And so it may actually be stuck. It's not good. Good, I've got a flat bottom beaker, yeah.
It makes the rockin' world go around.
Is it warmer?
I don't know, stick your fingers in.
I want to know that too, but I
Go
don't.
on, go stick your fingers in. Give it a shot.
It's the same. I think it is, but I don't know how it was before.
I think it's probably just.
Yeah,
a
no,
little bit
no
colder.
detectable difference with this as an instrument, right? As long as this is my instrument, I'm not telling any difference here. But those of you who said, I think it's gonna get colder, you're absolutely right. And this is a matter of averages. So if we think about that beaker right now, it has trillions upon trillions of molecules of water. There are more molecules of water in that beaker than there are stars in the universe. Trillions of molecules of H2O molecules. Every single molecule has its own kinetic energy, just like us in this room, right? We all have our own level of energy. Well, we talk about the temperature of that water. What we're really talking about is the average kinetic energy. We got the slow ones and we got the fast ones, right? Average it all together. That's what we mean when we say temperature. Most people have no idea what we mean when we say temperature. Check it out. Ask your mom next time you talk to her. Mom, what does temperature mean? Right? And it's like, oh, I don't know. But average kinetic energy of whatever you're talking about, that's really what it is, right? Whether it's a solid, right, or a liquid or a gas, add heat energy, the individual molecules move faster, even if they're in a solid, and therefore you get a higher, what we refer to as temperature. Okay, so that's what temperature is, average kinetic energy. Which molecules are leaving and becoming a gas? The slowpokes on average, or the superenergetic ones?
Fast one.
It's the superenergetic ones, right? The slowpokes are getting left behind. So if the energetic ones are the ones that are leaving, overall, what's happening to the average kinetic energy in the liquid?
It's dropping.
Going down. Isn't the average kinetic energy of the liquid just another way of saying temperature? So we actually lowered the temperature. You guys are already familiar with this. You know about this because of this. Do you see what I'm doing here?
Yeah. Fake
Tell
sweating.
me what I feel.
Wind chill.
It feels cold. And for exactly the same reason. The reason this works, the reason we sweat, right? We perspire. Right? What do they say? Men sweat,
Women
men sweat, horses perspire, and women glow. Is that right? Not sure that's right. Something like that. Don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that.
Dude, I've recorded it.
Yeah, it's gonna be on YouTube forever, including that F-bomb.